Welcome in, everybody, whether you're on the East Coast, West Coast, or around the world. This is Coast to Coast. Got everybody here today. And, we were a minute late because we were talking about making butter.
So for those that don't follow me as much on everything, I yesterday was the opening of Pischetti's, and that's a business that I started with my daughter, and we have we were making spaghetti and meatballs. Our menu is very, very limited. It's spaghetti, spaghetti and meatballs, spaghetti sandwiches, meatball sandwiches, and garlic bread. That's it. That's the menu in full. Bang done. You could order a small or a large of the spaghetti and meatballs. That's it. That's so it's very, very limited, very, very specific. Pischetti's. I will say that I literally stole the idea from Eminem.
There you go.
But my daughter and I, it was the first day my daughter's ever worked. That was her first. This is her first job, and she loves it. Spaghetti tacos. I didn't even think about that.
Meatball sandwiches, meatball subs. I'm good to go. Just take 2 pieces of garlic bread, stuff it with meatballs, and you got a good meatball sub right there.
Exactly it, man. That's exactly it.
I can believe it. Yeah, that sounds tasty. I'm very specific right now. We had our opening night, and people enjoyed the food. So we will. It's only open on Mondays. So, and what I did for the garlic bread, which is the reason why we were talking, is that I made my own personal garlic butter. And when you make garlic butter, it's not the easiest to make. It's easy to make. It's just not the easiest to. You have to have it. You have to be on top of it when it's congealing, or else all the garlic is down at the bottom and is no good.
Oh bueno.
So, what's up, guys? Good to see everybody.
Well, since you weren't here yesterday, you might as well let us know how the parade went.
So the parade was fun. It was interesting, to say the least. Obviously, I was 1.5 million people there.
Mm-hmm.
There was very few incidences. I actually have seen more now that the internet works. You know what I mean? Because every fight that possibly broke out is now showing up. There was a small incident where there was a shooting, but so somebody got in line or butt in front of everybody else at the porta potty, and that was why somebody even got shot. But beyond that, it was it was a good event. It was a fun event. I initially was not allowed in the VIP area, but ultimately they wanted me there. So I was able to get there. And I got to meet Mr. Barkley, Saquon's dad.
Nice.
How's that?
And it's very interesting when I go to take a picture with him and he takes a picture with me. I noticed the back of his phone, and I turn to him and I go, Mr. Barkley, that's the wrong green. He's a Jets fan. And he's a diehard Jets fan, actually. Obviously, he's a fan of his son. Was very excited. I got to poke a little fun at the Giants. I'm like, you never would have gotten this with the Giants, huh? He's like, nope.
Not in the list.
Yeah, they were a lot of cursing. A lot of cursing. It was a shame. Not a shame, but I felt that the speeches were not the greatest. When you have a speech like Jason Kelsey's and how iconic that wound up being, Uh, everybody else is going to fail and is like pales in comparison. There wasn't anybody who had that type of speech or even a worthwhile speech. I felt
Mhm.
the mayor went a little long. You know, she started to have people let her know that she went a little long.
Hmm.
Uh, but short of that,
Was she spelling eagles or what are we doing?
Eagles, which I kind of thought, like, I listen, I figure you lean into that.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that becomes funny.
Mhm.
You lean into it. They made hats about it.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
So, but she did not. She did not do that. And it is what it is. You know what I mean? It's like okay, it's. But it was fun. It was all around fun.
Right
So
on. Right on.
million and a half people enjoying themselves.
So you got a couple of questions for your spaghetti here. What do you use in your meatballs?
I only use ground beef in the meatballs. I do not add any pork. So
All
eh,
inclusive. Doesn't
and
rule
or
anybody
veal.
out.
I don't do veal either. I just do straight ground beef. We put in some different stuff in that as well, but it's not meant for that. It's not when I add pork and or veal to my meat, it's it becomes a tasty burger, and that's a whole different realm. I when I cook, I do a few things well. There's a few things that I do really well. Uh, and burgers is one of them, but I have a special recipe to that I don't share with anybody.
And of course, spell the place so people can find it.
Well, it's called PSG Hetties. So like there's an H in spaghetti. Nobody ever actually says it because obviously the G is silent too, kind of. Or it's just but it's like spaghettis, except it's PSG Hetti apostrophe S. Biscettis.
There you go.
And it's only at Dolan's, and it's only on Monday from 5 to 9.
There you
And
go.
it's
At
and
Dolan's.
yes, Joe, because I'm Italian, I know how to make it really well, and everybody was raving over it. There wasn't a lot of people. I gave samples out. Yesterday was like opening night, so like it was like a soft opening. I only mentioned it the night before. I did have some people travel for it and such, and it you know the truth of the matter was is that I was more concerned about my daughter liking doing the work. That was more important to me. It was Dolan's Bar,
Yeah, I was going to say, just Google Dolan's. Seems like that'll pop up easy enough.
24 East Sellers Avenue, Ridley Park, Pennsylvania.
There you go.
Yes, Chris. He had a upside down smiley face over
Yes,
his
he
eye.
did.
He had a big click on that one. So, you know what? So I use a little bit better. The 70% makes the gravy too oily.
Yeah.
I call it gravy. It's sauce, but it makes it too oily, and I don't like that. I want it. I don't want it as much. I want the meatballs a little bit harder. I use an 82% as I give away some of my you know, specialties. Things that I do. What do the Flyers need to do to get better? Uh, have a couple more drafts and a lot more people. They are.
They need to sell spaghetti because
They ain't doing nothing this year. It's not. They're not close. They're not close right now. They are 2 years from being a year away.
yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes sense.
But
Uh, oh, here we go.
yes, the governor who was on the show did a speech. Actually, the governor, he's become a friend. And he came to my tailgates. He pointed me out Like, actually, I wasn't even paying attention, and the news is the one that says, "Hey, Jamie, governor's trying to get a hold of you." And I'm like, "What's up, Gov? What's up, Josh?" You know what I mean? And just doing my thing. It's
Nice.
Where's the painted mohawk guy? He's right here. I just don't paint up for the show.
He lives in the paint. Yeah, that's he never takes it off.
Yeah, the mohawk's still here.
It was just
though.
raining there. That's why he doesn't have it on.
So, but it was,
good
yeah, the
stuff.
overall experience was amazing. And the great thing about this, as things going on, and this is not like a pat on my back or whatever, is that
Pat yourself on the back. Go ahead and do it.
this Super Bowl my face is going to be attached to this Super Bowl all over the place. It's just like the Philly sports guy is all over every part of the Super Bowl. Like they showed me on the big screen. I'm watching now that NFL Films came right out and told me after the parade. They came up to me specifically and said, "We have the entire video of you celebrating the Cooper DeJean touchdown." He said, "It's such a
Nice.
great video. It's, we're trying to figure out how to work it in because it's so awesome watching you celebrate." And I says, "I know, but at the very end, I looked goofy because you don't know what to do with your hand." Like, I'm like, like you just, yeah, like I don't know what to do. And it was, and they're like, it's so real. That's like, it was just so authentic that it's such a great video that they're trying to figure out how to put it into certain other videos.
Yeah.
Because it was so fun to watch. They said it says
Mhm.
we have watched that video over again. Like, it's one of those things that it's almost worth it. Like, you hear the crowd noise, and if you just play the crowd noise with the way that I'm cheering, it actually plays really well. They also have done it they said that we've tried different things, like you did it to the Titanic music. They did it to that they were starting to do different things like that. And it's all kind of just, it's funny to me because obviously I don't get to see some of that stuff, but NFL Films was just all over it. And, I'm just, I'm glad to be a part of it. I'm glad that it is, that it's people like Corey and everybody else out there that support me and are happy to see me, that make it possible for me to be able to even do this, because I could just be another guy. You know what I mean? It's paints his face, and it's because of everybody taking part with me. That's what I want to do. I like to share with everybody. Yes, the governor did say that we are the new America's team, and gave a couple of shots to Dallas.
I mean, you got to, right?
Right.
Especially when you got Dak coming out saying stupid stuff like they're close, and they've won most of the battles, and it's hilarious.
Yeah, it always works out that way for them.
In fact, I think I still have that slide. might as well add some comedy to this.
Yeah, let's do it.
Maybe. Everything moving super slow today, which I can relate.
That's the way it works. Comcast doing its best work.
With the Eagles and beat them for the most part when we played them. I don't want to say check the record when they're the guys holding the trophy right now. So credit to them. They've earned it and they deserved it by all means. But, yeah, very close, especially even watch the NFC game, the NFC Championship. And those two teams that we battle against each and every year a couple of times. And as I said, feel confident about we've gotten the better part each and every time. To see it in such a dominating fashion, credit to them. It's our turn and it's on us.
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say the Cowboys battled them. I would say the Cowboys showed up because there was a game. but it doesn't mean they battled
Not
them.
this year. This
mean-
year they stunk.
Yeah, they were terrible this year. But I mean, the biggest thing is they Hurts and Dak never go head to head.
Right.
I mean, one of them's injured every time they play each other.
And Joe, you can't say that. Sorry, we are still America's team when you live in Italy. You're not even in America.
See,
yeah.
I much preferred, and this is weird for me to say because I'm not a Troy Aikman fan. Mostly because he tends to just dump on the Seahawks, no matter how good they are. But his take.
We had more in us, and I thought we would be back. Obviously, we weren't. But not only were we not back, but here we are almost 3 decades later, and no one's been back. And so, I think I speak for the Cowboys faithful in saying that it's been a long time, and this is the Dallas Cowboys, and it's an organization that's had great history, and this team has won a lot of games over the years with a lot of different players, but for whatever reasons, they just haven't been able to get it done in the postseason. But I don't think anybody's happy about that. That's been a part of the Cowboys' legacy and what this franchise has stood for so many years.
So, I mean, losing is part of their legacy now.
Lately, I mean, it's.
You're welcome, Joe.
I wonder. Yeah, listen, Joe. You can make whatever excuse you want to for the Cowboys. We knew that the Cowboys were going to stink this year. There was not a lot of injuries. There was a lot of bad contracts that they couldn't do anything in free agency, and because of that, they couldn't get anything done at all. That they tried to run the same team back. They even brought back, Zeke, and he couldn't even make it through the year. So, I mean, let's be for real. The Cowboys right now are a mess, and it's going to be a couple of years for them to get out of the mess. And it's not going to be Schottenheimer that does it. I firmly believe. I firmly believe that you're going to see Troy Aikman become the GM at one point of the Cowboys.
That would be interesting.
I think that's a possibility. I think Jerry Jones has got to pass, and then Stephen Jones may do just that, trying to bring back some of the aura of the Cowboys. And I think that's actually a real move, and it's not a bad move to do. I mean, Aikman's been around now. I mean, not that he's. I actually like Aikman as an announcer. He's been very good, even with Joe Buck.
It's funny. He's actually gotten better over the last 4 or 5 years.
Yes, I agree.
He has a less slanted view, right? Because for forever, especially the first 10, 15 years of broadcasting, he was very rose-colored glasses for the Cowboys, right? And you could tell the teams he didn't like. And over the last 5 years, he's definitely gotten a little more balanced as far as the league in general, a little less bias in his broadcast. So over the last, again, 5 years, I would say he's gotten a lot better.
Right. So, Rob, I'll be honest with you. I think that they can go back next year. Am I going to say that they can possibly three-peat? No.
I was going to say, let's calm down. Let's see if they get back next year.
Yeah, I think next year's going to be a fight. I think that you're going to run into a healthy Detroit.
Yep.
I think that
Washington's only going to get better.
Exactly. Washington's going to be a much better team. It's going to be a fight for the division. I also feel like, and I don't want to even speak this into existence, but similar to the way the Chiefs walked into this Super Bowl, I feel like that there was a level of entitlement that they felt. And I don't think that, I hope that they don't have any of that. You know,
Yeah, you want them to
this-
stay hungry.
and that's going to be hard. That's going to be hard because they just ate a
Yep.
lot. You know, it is this game is the biggest win in Philadelphia Eagles history by far. Like it was by far the best, most dominant win
Mhm.
in all of Eagles history. And that doesn't happen very often. That is it takes a little bit of luck, and that's preparation meets opportunity. You know what I mean? You have to be ready for the moment and then take advantage of the moment. And they did. And
Yep.
they did. And the Chiefs were not ready for that moment. They were looking at the next moment being, we're going to be three-peats.
Yeah, I mean they looked like they had already won the game.
Yeah.
Like they looked like they had looked so far past Philly that they were just going to walk through them. And yeah, I mean they looked like they were collecting their rings already. I mean it was some ugly football on that side of the ball.
Yeah, it was. And listen, I did a different, so the season is over. After the parade, I did my official, so the season was over, and I even said about that they, it sucks. It sucks when you have this plan and the plan doesn't come to fruition. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But they got there. Like, listen, they were the first team to ever have the potential of doing it.
Yeah.
They weren't the first team to go to the Super Bowl 3 times in a row, obviously.
Well, of
And, the Bills are the only team to go 4 times in a row.
But they didn't win any of them.
No.
So it's
They
not
didn't
like-
win any of them, but that doesn't matter. It does matter that they went 4 times in a row.
Yeah.
No,
there's
incredibly dominant team. They just could never finish the deal. I mean, realistically, had they won those 4 or even 2 of them, right? Say they won 2 of them, you would talk about Jim Kelly in a whole different way.
Yeah.
You only needed one of them. You only needed one win to make that happen.
Yeah, I mean, true. Yeah,
But-
it's funny because people leave him off of any top 10 lists, but if he wins a couple of those, he's in that mix.
Exactly.
You could blame the kicker on the one.
Yep.
You could also, and it's funny, he lost to 3, Dallas twice, obviously, and the Giants once.
Hmm.
So 3 NFC East teams.
Yeah.
Or did he lose to Washington too? Was it all 4? Or we'll lose 1 to the 49ers? First one was to the Giants. Second one was to Washington and then Dallas, right?
Yeah.
Or Dallas, Washington, Dallas.
Okay.
Is that
I
all
think it was-
NFC East teams?
I think it was back to back. I would look it up. I think it was back to back years they lost to Dallas.
Right. But it was Giants, Washington, Dallas. Yeah, because the Giants won it in 90. The Redskins won it in 91.
Yeah, so they lost.
Dallas
It was,
92.
lost to the Giants 20-19. Lost to Washington 37-24, and then Dallas.
All NFC East teams. That's there's something to be said for that too.
Mhm.
In a way, not yes and no, because if you remember from Vic Fangio didn't blitz that much in this Super Bowl as opposed to Tampa Bay blitz almost 70% of the time in their Super Bowl. Like Tampa Bay sent the house.
Yeah,
against Patrick Mahomes.
they didn't blitz until like the third quarter. I think
Yeah,
was
like-
their first actual blitz.
Yeah, like basically, Philly only blitzed on like 30%.
0%. No, 0%. Did not have one blitz the entire game.
Yeah.
Oh, really? I thought you had one like halfway through the third.
No.
It
And then
did not.
Tampa Bay was blitzing 66
Out
to
through
70%.
that easy, it looked like it might have been a blitz.
Like
No.
Tampa Bay blitzed like 66 to 70% of that game against Kansas City. Like they sent
Right,
the
yeah.
absolute house in that game.
Well, they
And-
also
and the
were
truth-
missing both their tackles. So I
Yeah.
mean, you would take advantage of that.
That's
right?
why they sent. That's why they sent the host, because both the tackles got hurt like in the first
No,
quarter. So they're
yeah,
like, all right,
exactly.
we're gonna. Because even the first quarter, they weren't blitzing that much in the first quarter. But once the two tackles went down, they're like, oh, time to send the host.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously that is the right thing to do. Like if your line is decimated, send everybody because ain't nobody going to get open if you're on the.
Everybody that week also decided to not catch a ball. So I remember I was at that Super Bowl, not in the game, but I was down in Tampa Bay for that game. And I was right outside the stadium for that Super Bowl, literally. And I remember, first off, Patrick Mahomes 2 weeks prior had gotten a concussion. And it was a bad concussion.
Yeah.
And he was still affected by it, and they let him play.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that was,
Then his ankle got all
you
messed
could
up.
tell. You could tell he was hobbled, but he was still making great passes.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody had the drops. Everybody had the drops that day. I remember him hitting Tyreek Hill in the helmet. And then remember the Tampa Bay guy doing the dance in front of him, and he got the 15-yard taunting penalty. You know what I mean? It was like it was 4th down, and he got that taunting penalty, and they wound up scoring on that drive because of it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it was – yes, that is correct, Rob. I was there at the What the Buck tailgate, and it was a fun time. I figured it was one of those situations that, listen, if they were good, because Tampa was the first one to have the home Super Bowl.
Yep.
Yes.
And I was like, if I want to go to the party, if Tampa Bay is going to win, and I kind of thought that they would win because it was, they had, Tom Brady, that it was going to be a good game and that they were going to win. And it would be a great party to be at Tampa for the Super Bowl when they win it. I will say that the party wasn't as exciting as I thought it would be. It was still fun, but it wasn't as exciting as I thought it would be. A lot of fights between Tampa Bay people.
Yeah, the funny thing was, not only was Tampa Bay the first team to play like the Super Bowl in their home stadium, but then the Rams followed it up the next year.
The next
Well,
year.
no, that was the thing that was funny, right? Is it had never been done, and then it happened back-to-back years. And in back-to-back years, when it happens, the home team wins.
Yep. And you look at how the Rams season ended this year, like how the Rams are one of the hottest teams in the NFL when the season ended. They gave Philadelphia the best battle in the playoffs this year. They host the Super Bowl in 2 years. If the Rams continue to build on that defense and they trade Cooper Kupp,
they got to get a new quarterback.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. They'll replace Stafford, they'll replace Kupp, but if
Matt Stafford's wife is did you see that whole thing?
He's wearing out his welcome
I
real
heard
quick.
about it, but I didn't see it.
She's wearing out his welcome real quick in Los Angeles.
Yeah, she straight out said, like, hey, listen, we're trying to go somewhere else.
Yeah. I mean, if Sean McVay can keep doing what he's done the last couple of years, the Rams have a shot to play in the Super Bowl in their building again. Because that defense, I think, was a lot better than what people expected it to be this year.
Well, no, and so their defense was a lot better because of the rookie. Vernon.
Jared Verse.
Verse, whatever his name is. Vernon Verse.
Yeah. No. He had a great season.
Yeah.
Correct.
And then they had another linebacker who was a 3rd-round pick who nobody even heard of before. And by the end of the season, he was one of the top-rated linebackers by the end of the year. He was also a rookie.
So, I mean, there's some things going on there, but they're going to have to revamp the entire offense.
Yeah.
That offense has got to get revamped.
Which is, if you trade Cooper Kupp, that's going to get you draft picks. That's going to help you revamp that offense a lot quicker, even though losing Cooper Kupp's going to hurt. But it's going to allow you to acquire assets to revamp that offense. And same thing with Matthew Stafford. If you end up trading him, yes, it's going to hurt. It might hurt you like significantly next year where you may not make the playoffs next year, depending on what you do to replace him. But then you're also adding assets for the future that's going to make you better a lot quicker.
Is it just me, or is there been a change in the defensive tackles? Because Verse is also a defensive tackle. He's not an end.
He's considered a defensive tackle, but they moved him to edge just because he's too small to be a defensive tackle. He's only like 262 or something like that.
Well, I thought he was like 275 somewhere.
He could be, yeah. Because when he came, that could be now. Because when he got
he looks a lot bigger.
Yeah.
In person, when I saw him in person, I was like, because I was talking a little bit of smack because they put me right next to him
Yeah.
when
Oh.
they were talking about how he says he hates Philly fans. And they used my picture in that. So I was talking a little bit of smack. I'm like, hey, how come I got this? How come I'm pictured next to such an ugly guy? You know, just to try to get
Well,
under
he's
his skin.
actually 6'4", 260.
Yeah, no,
So
he's a big dude.
he's actually not that big. He's probably just built like a tank.
Oh,
I
he
mean,
is.
6'4" is still a tall dude.
Yeah, but he's
Yeah,
like 260.
And
So like,
260 is probably like the beginning of the season weight.
yeah.
Like I'd be willing to bet that he was somewhere in the neighborhood of 275, 280.
Yeah.
And he looked bulked. Like he
Yeah.
looked jacked. So I mean it's one thing to do that, but like he's throwing people around like that. But what I'm getting at is that there has been a little bit of a shift in the defensive tackles where
Mhm.
they've gone a little bit smaller and a little bit meaner. And like
Yeah.
you're getting Verse, you're getting Carter. Like
Mhm.
those guys are starting to actually come about now.
And I think a big reason for that is how the game is played now, where running backs aren't as utilized as they once were. So now you don't need those big defensive tackles up front to stop the run as consistently, because a lot of teams have gone away from the running back more so, and they've been going to the pass. So now you want the quicker, more athletic guys so you can get to the quarterback quicker.
Mhm.
Like
I agree with that.
you still obviously want to have like two big guys in the middle. But if you're going to play like a 4-3 front, you can have like your two big guys in the middle and then your two defensive ends, instead of being like 290, 95 pounds like they were back in the early 2000s. Now your two defensive ends are going to be about 270 because you want them to have the quickness and agility to get out of the outside to get to the quarterback quicker. Because the running game is not
it's
as
funny because
prominent
that
as it once
feeds
was.
that feeds into something I said last year is you might start to see a fullback come back because you're starting to see the line get a little bit smaller. You're starting to see linebackers get a lot smaller, right? Because they got to be able to stick around in coverage. Now all of a sudden having some big big running backs that can blast through these guys, you may see a return of that.
You took some of the words out of my mouth here. I was saying that's why the tight end is being used as a fullback in a lot of cases.
Yep.
They usually put the tight end in motion, and then they have them go through the line. They usually bring him right after he passes the quarterback or right before he gets to the quarterback, depending on which part of the line they're going through, and they act as the fullback. So yes, I agree that there is something to be said for stuff like that. But that's also the reason why the wide receivers have been able to crossbreed into running backs,
Yes.
because wide receivers have been faster and can.
I don't think anybody wants to see this, Jay.
No, with Jay's comment too, where he said NFL teams are averaging the 119.5 up from 112.7.
Yep.
It's not that teams are better at running the ball. It's because the defensive tackles aren't as big and aren't as strong as what they used to be. So now instead of getting 2.5, 3 yards per carry because you have these big monsters up in the middle to stop the run, you're getting 4.5 to 5 yards per carry because teams are going smaller because they want to pressure the quarterback more. So yes, you are going to technically run for more yards now because you don't have those big bodies in the middle like you used to. It's easier to get 4 or 5 yards at a clip as opposed to like the 2 or 3 that it used to be. And having Saquon and Derrick Henry have the seasons that they had this year is going to help the NFL average a little bit with rushing yards per game.
Yeah, well, when you have two running backs go over close to 2,000 yards a game or 2,000 yards for the season, it's one over, one under. But I think that are they going to come back to a traditional, I formation? I doubt it.
No.
Or the power
college
I.
has gone away from it too.
Who?
College has gone away from like your traditional I formations too, because now that's where a lot of these transformations are taking place is in college, where you may recruit a player who's like a 285-pound defensive tackle, but as soon as they get to college, you want them to get down to that 275 and put them on the edge. So already you're making a change before that player even makes a contribution.
No, and I get that. I mean, all this stuff is happening in college. That's part of the thing. I mean, think about it. They used to have the wishbone. You know what I mean? So, and that the last time the wishbone was even used in the NFL was during the strike season.
Mm-hmm.
when they incorporated it in when it was like the 49ers used it in the strike season in 90, I guess it was 91 when Washington won the Super Bowl against Buffalo. But I don't know. I think that you're not going to see it, but you may start to see bigger tight ends that start coming in, like the 275, 285
Mhm.
pound tight end.
Yeah, you'll start seeing guys that can block again.
Or you'll start seeing like a lot of the stacked tight end formations where sometimes you might go with 3 tight ends on the field at the same time, and you'll line up 2 on one side basically to be used as the blockers, and then you'll have your pass catching tight end on the far side where he's able to get free to catch passes.
Exactly.
Basically, just give you 2 extra offensive linemen by adding those 2 tight ends.
Yeah, and honestly, it's something that the Seahawks really needed. Not this year, but last year when everybody on their offensive line got hurt and they were running, 12 and 13 personnel because the offensive line was so bad.
When they're playing with big personnel outside of the goal line. That's
well, I mean, they had to do it in the middle of the field because
that's what I'm talking about. It's funny to have that kind of
Yeah, no, exactly. And so, I mean, they could have used some bigger tight ends in that scenario because they were having guys that aren't really known for being great blockers have to come in and block.
Yeah. Joe, we're going to start talking about that in about another week. I tell you, I don't even have an idea yet. The only team that I actually thought may have a chance on in my world would have been Villanova, and their chances got really hurt in one of their most recent losses. I'm more concerned about the Final Four, which is going to be, I want to see the rematch of the USA versus Canada. That hockey game is going to be amazing.
It is going to be fantastic.
As long as the USA shows up, because they didn't show up yesterday.
Well, they didn't show up yesterday because they didn't care.
They didn't care, but they did sustain some injuries yesterday, and some significant injuries that are not going to be available now on Thursday. They added 2 new players to the roster for Thursday because 4 players are going to be inactive.
Who got hurt?
I can look that up. I just saw the name. Quinn Hughes was added to the roster today to replace one of their best defensemen who took a major shot in the 3rd period last night. So he took a big check and he ended up leaving right away with an upper body. Brady Tkachuk, who had 3 goals in the first 2 games, 1 against Canada and 2 against Finland, got hammered in the 3rd period, and he is out for the final, which he got replaced by Quinn Hughes this morning. And then their other starting defenseman, Charlie McAvoy, who is Boston Bruins defenseman, is also ruled out for the title game. So 2 of the Americans' best defenders are out. And they actually helped set the tone against Canada because they got physical with Canada early. And that's what triggered one of the fights right out of the chute. And then there was another fight in the 2nd period because Brady Tkachuk leveled Sidney Crosby on a fast break.
Yeah.
So those 2
It
helped.
was funny. It was soon as it started, it was like, okay, we're boxing.
those 2 helped set the tone significantly in that first game against Canada. And now that Canada has seen what Team USA wants to do, obviously they're going to adjust. And the same thing with the United States, they're going to adjust as well. But not having those 2 guys on the defense is going to put a lot more pressure on Hellebuyck and goal. Because Canada is going to be fully healthy. They're only missing 1 player on Thursday, and he's a 4th-line player. Everybody else for Canada that was hurt was sitting out against Finland, and now they're all going to be back on Thursday.
Right, because they had to win outright, though, because they thought that Team USA was going to play lackadaisical.
Yeah. They figured well, because they didn't start Hellebuyck, they went with Jake Ottner in goal, so they already benched their starting goalie. They went with a lot of their 2nd and 3rd line players who were the 1st line last night. So I don't know if people thought USA would lose, but it was gonna be one of those games where they weren't gonna look like the team they did the first 2 games. It was gonna be more of we just want to get through this game so we can get to Thursday. Mm-hmm. But they sustained a lot of tough injuries that's gonna be hard for them to overcome on Thursday.
Yeah, it's Brady Kachuk is a big one. They got the other one there though, so
He left also, but he is expected to play on Thursday. He left in the middle third period. He left. He took an elbow to the head.
Yeah, but I mean, if it's a game that you don't have to win, and
No,
you got
but he left because he got busted open, so he ended up leaving.
for sure. But I mean, had that been the title game, I bet they would have found a way to get him
Yeah.
back in the game.
But yeah, but he's like that. Sweden actually, I was impressed with Sweden. They actually played very physical with the United States yesterday. That was the most physical they've been in the entire Four Nations face-off. Like against Canada, they got owned. Canada completely laid them out. Finland out-muscled them on the puck, and all of a sudden yesterday, Sweden looked like a team that was heading to the championship game because they played very physical with the United States yesterday.
right. But they also needed to win a game.
Yeah.
So ultimately, it's because Canada beat them in overtime, mind you. Like it
Mhm.
wasn't even but because Canada beat them, Canada was the one that moves on. Had Canada gone to overtime with Finland, had Finland shown a little bit more presence, Sweden would have been playing the USA in this Final Four.
Yeah. And I think the NHL is going to come to the conclusion that their point system that they're doing for this tournament is going to be here to stay starting next year.
The reason why it's not because they are, they're not going to do it that way. And the reason being is they want the parity.
Well, they do want the parity, but who made the point? The assistant commissioner to Gary Bettman basically said a team that wins in overtime deserves 2 points. A team that loses in overtime deserves 1 point because you forced the tie. But a team that wins in regulation should not be given the same amount of points as a team that wins in overtime. Like a team that wins in regulation should be given the 3 points because they won in overtime. And that's why I think the NHL is going to go back to that system where you get 3 points for the win outright, 2 points for the OT win, 1 point for the OT loss, and then obviously 0 points if you lose outright. Because
I'm game for that. I am 100% game.
I think a lot of
that'll change the whole dynamic of things.
And I think that's kind of what they want. I think they want more teams, like a more opportunity for teams that, because if you go 30-27 and with a bunch of ties, essentially you could miss the playoffs just because those overtime wins, only overtime losses count as 1 point and a regular win counts as 2 points. But now you add that third point in there, that could help you get into the playoffs. And I think that's why the NHL wants to go to it, because they're making the good point. Like a team that is tied and wins in overtime should not be given a full 3 points.
Well, I mean, not just that, but it adds a little extra incentive to close the thing out in regulation.
Because then you're having teams like that are playing for the tie at the end, knowing that they're guaranteed that 1 point. And then if you go versus now, it's like, oh crap, I don't want 2 points. I want the 3 points. So we need to try to score here in this last minute to try to get these 3 points.
That's exactly
that extra point could cost us a playoff. And that extra point could cost you a playoff berth if you end up with 97 points and the other team gets 98 points because they had one more win.
All those numbers that you're coming up with right now are out the window the moment that occurs.
Yeah.
The highest, it would be 120 points that you would need.
And that's how it used to be, I think, until what, like 2010, 2011?
They never gave it was the 3-point game, but there used to be ties.
Yeah, they never used to be like, it used to be 3-1 is what it used to be. It never used to be 3-2-1.
No, it was never 3-1. It was always 2.
Was
2 and 1. They had 2-point games where both people that tied get a point, which is what it should be. They didn't go into overtime. They started doing the overtime, and then it was 2 and 1. That was a 3-point game, but it was you only get 2 points with the win, same as anybody else that would win. So,
yep. No, I like having a regulation extra point there because, again, then it creates some urgency. It makes the end of the game more exciting.
Yeah.
So, but I think that if they go to that, then you're going to need to get 125 points. That's going to be the number to get into the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
So. We'll see. We'll see what happens. The truth of the matter is that if you win in overtime and you get the 2 points and you win in the shootout, you're still getting the 2 points. I'm like, maybe just cut them in half. Like you get 1.5 points.
One and a
Yeah.
half point.
Well, if you win in the shootout,
Yeah.
I doubt they'll go that route. The 0.5 points is never gonna
No.
cut it in hockey.
Yeah.
Did anybody did they play the NHL the NBA All-Star game?
Oh, it was great. Most amazing thing I've ever seen in my life.
I-
Dumbest All-Star game ever.
yeah, I mean, as soon as I heard what it was going to be,
Holy shit.
I was so happy the Daytona 500 was
Oh my
randomly,
God.
so I didn't watch any of it.
Oh yeah, speaking of that, the NBA All-Star Game had their lowest rating since 1984 because the Daytona 500 was on at the same time.
Well, and because they put out the dumbest All-Star game ever.
Christ. So, they got sick of seeing like 500 points scored in an All-Star game, so how do we counteract that? We do mini games.
Oh, they do it up to 40. Is that what that was?
Yeah, there was basically 4 teams, and you had 3 mini games. Like 2 teams faced off each other. The winner would go to the championship. The next 2 teams would play each other. The winner would go to the championship, and then the 2 winners would play for the championship. It was 3 mini games. It was so stupid.
When will they learn?
Well, Giannis basically said after the game on his press conference that seeing the amount of success that the NHL's had with this 4 nations tournament that they're doing, he is not opposed to having an All-Star game be either like a USA versus World type of game, or like a Team USA, a Team Canada, a Team Europe, and then like a Team rest of the world, and just have 2 separate games with 2 winners. Kind of do the same thing that the NHL is doing. Because then you have a little bit more pride that you're playing for, because now you're not just playing for the NBA All-Star Game, you're essentially playing for your country too. Or countries.
I think you make it a 2-day event. You put them in teams, and then you have the 3-point shooter, the slam dunk guy, and it all comes up into points. And it's all skills based. All of it's skills based. Just do it all skills. 2 days of skills.
Make it take it. I mean, that's basically what it is.
You don't play defense now, so it is make it take it.
But
They're gonna
thinking
play
about
horse
that,
next year.
I mean, realistically, I wouldn't mind like one-on-one battles up to 5 or up to 7.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like that would be kind of cool to watch that.
With how little defense is played, they're literally just going to start playing horse, right? I mean, that follows the same path as the NFL doing flag.
Well, but realistically, that's why I'm saying make just 2 days of skills competitions. Like you could do all those skills competitions and then start a mano-a-mano tournament.
Yeah.
One-on-one tournaments or 2-on-2. Like maybe that's what you do. You have like 1-on-1, 2-on-2, 3-on-3 as part of your team. So your team gets points this way. Like I think that's I mean, it's better than watching them score 600 points.
Yeah, ain't nobody want to see that. Nobody wants.
I'm fine with doing away with the All-Star Game in general and just playing the Rising Stars game, because those guys actually play some defense and that game is fun to watch. And then you just use the rest of the weekend for skills competitions.
But think about this. I mean, and obviously this would, this would have to be making some stuff back in time and shit like that. But imagine having like a one-on-one tournament, where you actually put Michael Jordan towards the end of his days and LeBron James in the beginning of his days, a one-on-one. Like that's kind of cool to watch. Like that makes it worthwhile. As I think about this, you get Curry versus somebody here, it's like, and do one-on-one. You know what I mean? I think that those are the things that could absolutely happen. And do make it take it. Do it up to 7 points.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Or if we really want to get cute, do what the MLB used to do. Make the winner of the All-Star Game get home court advantage in the NBA Finals. Because then you would actually get some defense in the All-Star games, because people would be like, shit, if I make the NBA Finals, I get home court, whether if I'm an 8 seed or a 1 seed.
Come on. Stop. That's not the case. That's not going to happen. I think that's just ridiculous. Actually, I like my idea better. But I'm willing to listen to more ideas, but I don't think that I you, I thought that baseball was ridiculous for doing it that way. And that was the knee jerk reaction to Torre. Was it Joe Torres that didn't have any more pitchers? They had to call the game a tie because he was out of pitchers
Yeah.
because
Oh
he
yeah.
used every pitcher.
Out of
There
pick out that call out. That was Milwaukee's All-Star game. That was fun times. I was there. That was fun times.
Yeah, because it was Milwaukee's. Milwaukee was the owner of Milwaukee was the commissioner at the time, right?
No, that was that was like the second year after he got rid of it. So when Bud Selig became commissioner, he sold off his ownership to the Brewers because I think there was a rule that he could not own a team and be commissioner at the same time.
And be commissioner.
Yeah, so it was like because he took over a commissioner role, I believe, in '99, and then that All-Star game was 2001 or 2002 in Milwaukee. So it was right after he sold the team to who they have now.
But I like that. In terms of basketball, I think that would be more interesting, like 1-on-1, 2-on-2s, 3-on-3s, and make it tournament style. Like that. I think that would play so much better.
Yeah,
Sure.
And have and do a tournament style, and then have team. Like, okay, we're all part of this team, so like.
And you can mix and match with like legends and current players too. Like obviously not every legend is going to be able to play. Like Dr. J, I don't think could go out there right now and play, but like Charles Barkley and Shaq. I think Charles Barkley and Shaq could get out there and still play with some of these guys.
Not a chance. Not a chance.
You don't think Shaq could just stand down there and rebound?
No chance.
No, he couldn't even dunk. Like he tried to do that on the set like 4
Yeah.
years ago. He could almost touch the rim, and he couldn't get enough air under his feet to dunk.
His knees.
I think
were
like
shot.
depending on the legend, I could see like a legend and like legends and current players mixing and matching on a team. Like if
You
you're
know,
gonna do
if you wanted to do something like that with the legends, make it a 3-day weekend, and on Friday they go out golfing, and
Hey,
that
don't-
counts.
don't
Yeah,
tempt
that would
Stephen
be more
Curry.
like it.
Don't tempt Stephen Curry with that. He'd sign up for that on day one.
I'm sure. But
Screw the
so
All-Star game,
but
I'm
now,
going
now you
golfing.
got Barkley. You could have Shaq. You could do all of that.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
and again, people would watch. People
Well,
would watch that.
especially if it was Chuck golfing because he has the worst swing ever.
Not anymore.
Not
No,
anymore. He's actually been practicing his golf swing a lot.
No. He fixed it, but it was funny that like.
The thing that
Well-
the only thing that I care to see at this point is I want to see how long Mac McClung can hold on to his title. And I know he kind of basically said he's not really interested in coming back unless the NBA wants him back. The guy single-handedly saving the dunk contest. Like the NBA is going to keep asking him to come back.
Yeah, but he wants to be on a team. So if he's not gonna get an opportunity, why would you keep?
But he makes more money winning the dunk competition
Yes, he
and
does.
gets all the endorsements that come with that after the fact.
Yep.
Enough
He's-
to be able to substantiate his life
Yeah.
right
Yeah,
now.
That's why, like right now, the NBA. I mean, I think he should be on some roster because he's not a great player, but he is better than some of the players that are on NBA rosters right now. But
Yeah. I mean,
if he's
Bron
gonna,
shots.
yeah,
Like, what
like
are we
if
doing?
he's gonna literally be making what he's making to just come out and dunk a basketball once a year, I'm pretty sure that's a pretty honest living that he can make. Where the NBA is like, oh, we'll give you $500,000 a year to keep going in the dunk contest. All right, sign me up. I'm good.
I'd do that.
Yeah, $500,000 a year to dunk a basketball.
Well,
I'm good.
they
I'll
have
keep coming out.
but it's for real. They have to sign him to 2-way contracts.
Yeah, they do, and that's why he always keeps signing like the 2-way contract. And I think his 2-way deal is like a $250,000 contract because of
Right, it's a
service time.
minimum. It's a minimum
Yeah.
amount. So he's
So
got
then the
that
NBA
minimum.
could be like, we'll give you $500,000 for the dunk contest on top of your 2-way deal. You're making now around $800,000 a year. I mean, that's not great money for an NBA player, but for
Hey.
him, that's decent living.
It doesn't
Couple years-
matter what kind of workout it requires. If you're getting $500K for 3 hours of work, I'm doing it.
Exactly. Sign me up.
I mean, and not only that, like as I think about that, like I remember a couple years ago when he won his first dunk competition,
Mhm.
I did a bit with him at Raising Cane's, which is the chicken place. And
Yep.
after, it's like, the MVP gets to go to Disney. The second in command with MVP gets to go to Raising Cane's.
Yep.
And they get paid a lot of money to go to Raising Cane's. He got paid a ton of money to go there.
Yep.
To Raising Cane's. And good for him. God bless him. The fact that he got paid all that money. Because I got paid a little bit of money, but it was all food people and me and him. And he was just as tall as I was.
His one dunk with a double basketball was sick on Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't watch it in real time. I just caught the highlights from it.
So, but anyways, yeah. I mean, that's as much as we're going to talk about with basketball because nobody.
Well, I mean, that's all we're going to talk about today. We're at the top of the hour. So if you're watching on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe. If you're watching on Roku, stay tuned for the next hour. Otherwise, yeah, I was able to dunk when I was younger. Not consistently, but I was able to get up. Even though I'm not tall, I could actually palm a basketball. So I
could palm a basketball, but I could not get up that high. I couldn't jump.
Yeah, I couldn't consistently dunk, but I was able to get up there a few times. Again, I'm 5'10", right? So I mean, that's the basket's a ways up there.
Yeah, just under your entire height.
Yeah. Well, so I got a big wingspan though. So although I'm 5'10", my wingspan is 6'2". So I got some monkey arms. But yeah, couldn't consistently do it, but a few times. Anyway, we're gonna get out of here. We'll see y'all tomorrow. I'm sure more basketball is yet to come.
Later, guys.
Yeah.
Introducing National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk programming that you can access 24/7. For the premier sports talk experience, tap into our Roku channel. Start your mornings with Mac and Jack covering all the weekend sports action. Then pour a cup and enjoy all the sports you can drink on the Coffee and Sports podcast. At midday, talk sports from east to west on the Coast to Coast podcast. Followed at night by some hot girl talk with Prim and Proper Sports featuring Sonia Pearson. Talk boxing on the Gloved Fist. Yankee fans tune in for Start Spreading the News. And there's more on the College Sports Huddle and Sports Scope with Robert Butler. There are 20 podcasts in all and 70 weekly shows giving us a 3.4-star viewer rating. To find us on Roku TV, search for National Streaming Sports on the Roku search bar. Click on the logo and you're in. National Streaming Sports, live and